Welcome to Actual Scale Modelling. This is part 2 of Airfix's Heron Mark II, and it's the classic airline series from Airfix, and the scale is 1 to 72. In part 1, I built the cockpit and put the two halves of the fuselage together. So in this part, I'm going to be carrying on from where I left off, dealing with the same lines and starting the painting. So let's jump into this and see how well I get on. So with the initial look, once everything is dry, there's quite a bit of seam lines right down the bottom here and mostly on the top. That was not surprising because it is an older kit and the molds are not as sharp as you would expect on a newer kit. So I'm going to have to sand these down. So I've got various sanding sticks here that I'm going to be using, going from a heavy grade right down to a fine polish grade. So I'm just laying them out there so you can have a look. I can't exactly remember the grade numbers on these. They're quite old sticks now. But I go from a heavy one right down to a polished one. So I just taking it away and sanding off any of the major flash areas to begin with, and gradually just work my way down. Now once I've sanded it, I'm going to have to spray it in primer. Two reasons for that. One, this will show up any further gapping issues or rises in the fuselage. It just becomes easier to see when you reprime it. Also, it gives me a chance to fit a couple of parts which it needs to be primed in the same colour. So it's masking off the windows, as you can see there, just with a bit of tape, and then I'll fit one or two areas, like the cockpit you can see here. The reason why I'm fitting the cockpit now is because, again, I can get that primed all in one go with the actual fuselage of the plane. So I'll go off and prime this. I'll take it a good hour or so for it to dry before I come back to it. And while it's drying, I'll just start doing some of the sub-assemblies. So these are the rear wings, and it's just two halves sandwiched together. And onto the main wings, because I'm having the landing gear down, I'm going to be painting the inside of the wing here. And I'm using Rebel Agricolor 76 light grey for this. Then it's back to the plane, and where the hatches or the door, there's a little bit of gap in there. So I'm just going to fill that in before I carry on. I didn't know there was that much gap in there until I resprayed it, and that's the reason why you go back to respraying it or painting it by hand if you wish, because it will just show up all these little gaps. This filler I'm using is just melted sprue, so sprue glue. So it's part glue, part scrap sprue, just all melted down. It acts as an excellent filler, and doesn't shrink and behaves exactly the way the plastic would do. So it's same thing for painting and sanding. It all behaves the same way. And then it's onto the forward wings, and I'm masking off here the hard edge lines for the edge of the wings. That's the little, I'm not sure of what it's actually called, the termination of it, but it's the strip at the front of the leading edge wing that's painted in the darker colour. And I'm using Rebel Agricolor 54 Night Blue. Now, look at the instructions, I think it may be black, but I'm going to be using this blue colour on different parts of the aircraft's nose cone. So I thought it would be a good idea just to paint them in the same colour. I don't think it makes much difference, unless you're going for 100% accuracy, of course. And once it's dried and the tape's removed, I'm using Pledge Clear polish here just to give it a protection barrier before I put the next set of masking tape on. And while that's drying, I'm going back to the main fuselage now, and I've got a rougher file here to take off some more of the seam lines. There was a little bit more than I anticipated, so I'm just bringing that back down to the plastic to get everything a lot more smoother. So you can see there, that's all come down now. It is very smooth now. I'm just going to use my final filing stick. This is the one that just polishes everything up to make it all nice and smooth before respraying. So I'll just finish respraying it and then just put it up to light to make sure that all the seam lines have indeed gone. Now I haven't done the same treatment underneath. I'm a bit lazy when it comes to that, and I just make it acceptable. I never look up underneath the things. The purists out there will be aghast at that, but you know, that's what I do. So now it's back to the wings, and now that the varnish is dried, I'm replacing the masking tape but over the blue this time. And then it's another coating of clear. Now the reason for this is to stop paint bleed. Now there's a couple of ways you can do this. I'm using the varnish method because I've got that at hand, but what I do is I just paint over the tape and over the area where the paint is going to go, and this acts as a blocker, as I said. But you can also use the same colour you're going to be painting over, so the blue. But because I'm putting on silver, I would take 1 or 2 coats. So back to the main fuselage, as you can see here, and I'm using Revell Aquacolor 301 white silk. This is going to be the main colour for the top of the aircraft. For everything else it's Revell Aquacolor 90 silver. So on these wings, how I'm painting these, I'm starting off the tape and dragging the paint down onto the actual part itself. Do not brush into the tape because you may lift up the tape and cause paint bleed. So always brush from the straight tape onto your actual area where you're going to be painting. I got like very thin strips of masking tape here that I've used that orange jig that you can see on the screen as a template to cut very thin pieces of masking tape. And this is just for the pattern that's on the nose cone. The underlying colour will be white for this, hence why the masking tape. And once the masking tape's on, it's a coat of clear like I did with the wings. And now that the wings are dry, I can remove the masking tape. So I'm fairly happy with it. It's a nice clean line. And then it's back to the 54 Night Blue by Revell Aquacolor for the flashing on the nose cone area. And now I'm moving on to the props, and I'm using Revell Aquacolor 12 Yellow. This is for the flashing at the end of the blades. It's Tamiya's X32 Titanium Silver, and I'm using this for the exhaust. Now this titanium silver, if you don't mix it properly, it gives a sort of darkish metallically grey look to it, which is it's a good look for exhaust ports and metal components that heat are going through. It's not as harsh as a gunmetal. It just gives off the right look to me anyway. So now I'm going back to the wings. I'm going to start building the landing gear. It is a very basic setup with the landing gear. However, this one I did manage to snap off while popping it in. It was a very tight fit, so I'm going to have to repair that. It was a simple fix. It was just a straightforward rebonding the area that had snapped off. I slightly increased the recess area where the pin goes into the wheel. It was very tight, but once I'd done that, I just popped it in and rebonded, as I said. The location points for the wheel is it's quite easy. There's a little trench part there for the bar to fit in, and then that has an overlocking piece that goes on top. Now you can't leave this so it has free movement. The instruction says that you can do this as well, but I have it as a stationary model, so I'm gluing all mine up. So as you can see, there's not much to the actual landing gear at all. Next to go in are the flaps. Again, like the landing gear, these can be free moving if you wish. I've decided to have them stationary. And once they were in place, it was just a simple matter of putting the two halves together. These fitted rather well. I did have to clamp them a little bit just to keep them stationary, but you can easily hold it for 1 or 2 minutes if you don't have any clamps. And the rear wings just get pushed together with the rear flaps. Now the blue's dry, we can take off the top part of the masking tape. And these are the very thin little strips I placed on. They go into a sort of point from the canopy down onto the nose like that. I can also now remove the masking tape for the side windows, and then reapply masking tape where the white is. Now the white has been coated with a thin coat of clear to protect it. And the reason why I do that is so the tape doesn't lift up any paint when you take the tape off. So it's imperative that you make sure that the varnish is 100% dry before you do this. And just to show you the other way of blocking paint from paint bleed, this is me using the white colour, the 301 silk, as a barrier to stop the next coat of paint bleeding into the white. If I do get any paint on the windows, I can just simply scrape it off with a cocktail stick. And then it's back to Revell Aquacolor 90 Silver for the main colour on the fuselage. I'll start off with the thin brush first, a smaller brush, just where the windows are, so that I'm not going to be going too much onto the actual clear plastic. Also, where the masking tape is, where the nose cone is, there's quite thin strips there still, and also I don't want to encroach onto the blue. And once I've got the line work done, it's a simple case of switching over to a larger brush. I have got a flathead brush here to paint in the remaining detail. And once it's dry, I'll take off the masking tape and paying close attention to see if there's any paint bleeds. Now at the front of the nose cone area, where the strips are very thin, I've got a tiny little bit there. It's just where I've curved the tape. It's created a little crease and a little bit of paint as I got through to that, but that's easily fixed, so I'll just do that off camera probably, just touching it up. And this will bring part 2 to an end. So quite a lot done in this part. Got further along than I expected to. So if you haven't done so already, why don't you check out the channel for my other builds. If you subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. You'll be kept up to date of not only this build, but all my future builds. Hit that like button. Don't be afraid to leave a comment. And of course, you can share the video. But for now, thank you all very much for watching. Bye bye.